On Saturday, June 16th at approximately 8:02 p.m., uniformed officers responded to multiple 911 calls of a physical altercation that took place at Capital Metro bus stop at 4415 Manchac Road. Officers arrived and they found that 66-year-old Alan Kitty had been physically assaulted and was rendered unconscious. He was transported from the scene via ambulance to South Alton Medical Center, and he was immediately placed on life support. The defendant in this case was apprehended about an hour later. He was still in the vicinity. He was located behind the Valero gas station. He was taken into custody and brought down to the police department where he was interviewed. Mr. Del Toro was placed under arrest, and he's since been booked in for aggravated assault, and his bond has been set at $75,000. There is a possibility that there may be higher charges or additional charges filed just based on the investigation that's going to proceed for the next 90 days or so.
What led up to the fight? Do you guys have information about that?
So at this point, the details are still relatively sketchy. We have information that they may have been arguing over a female by the name of Brenda Everett that was associated with both an ex-girlfriend of Del Toro. But based upon the video footage that we obtained from the Valero gas station, there are numerous vehicles and individuals on foot in the area at or near the time of the assault. And we're asking that if anybody has any information or they saw the assault, even in part, that they come forward so we can get the information from them and help put the pieces together.
Why is that so important if you have a suspect in custody already?
Because the interview that we have with Del Toro is basically his side of the story at this point. There are other individuals that were within earshot of the argument that took place just prior to, and we're hoping that any information they may have will certainly lend to that and give some ideas to what the motive may have actually been.
Have you talked to this woman and what additional charges could be filed?
I have not spoken to Brenda as of yet. However, I do know who she is, and we're in the process of trying to locate her. With regards to additional charges, Del Toro was booked into the Travis County Jail and has been charged with aggravated assault. If he remains in custody, then I have 90 days to present this case to a grand jury, and the grand jury essentially at that point can decide whether to charge or true bill him for manslaughter or may even murder, may even be murder just based upon the circumstances.
How would you describe the scene in the video? You see a lot of people just going about their business while a violent crime is taking place. Is that normal?
Sure, it doesn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary at first. We can see that the victim, Alan Kitty, approaches, sits down at the bus stop, and he's there for nearly an hour. And then the defendant, Del Toro, exits Capital Metro bus and takes a seat next to him at the bus stop. Doesn't appear to be any altercation at that point. But shortly thereafter, it's clear that they engage in some type of verbal altercation. They're arguing with one another. And then Del Toro is observed standing up from the bus stop, and he proceeds to assault Mr. Kitty, immediately knocking him to the ground and kicks him repeatedly.
And so we see the guy squeegeeing his rear windshield in the lower right-hand corner. Right. Have you talked to him?
I do not know who that witness may be, but it's clear based upon the video footage that he at least heard what was going on and may have seen the altercation too. So it's important that if anybody was in that general area or may have even been driving by at the time, we ask that they call into the Austin Police Department so we can identify them and find out what they may have seen or heard.
How unusual is it to witness a crime happening but not do anything? It seems like it didn't bother anybody that someone's getting the
There are numerous vehicles that are in the video footage that are driving by. I can state that at least a couple of those vehicles did call into 911, so they have been identified. But you can clearly see that there are many other individuals that are in that area, and not only in vehicle, but on foot in the parking lot at the gas station as well. So we want to put all the pieces together and identify as many of those witnesses that we can so that we can move forward with the case.
Did these guys have any kind of history? I mean, you said that they were involved at the same moment, but had there been violence or words between them before, according to Del Toro?
Mr. Del Toro indicated that they had had an ongoing argument or feud regarding Brenda Everett for at least the last couple of years, the extent of which I don't know if it's ever been physical before. But certainly on this date, it rose to the level of physical violence.
Did Kitty also date the woman?
That I do not know.
Was anybody intoxicated or under the influence at the time?
I don't know if they were or not. As far as toxicology on Mr. Kitty, we're waiting for those results to come back. It could be up to 90 days. Mr. Del Toro was not given a breathalyzer or drug test, so I don't know if he had alcohol in his system or not.
Do either have a criminal history or a history with
we-
APD?
I think they had involvement, but I can't get into history.
They're both homeless?
Mr. Del Toro is listed as a homeless male. However, Mr. Kitty is married, legally married, and has a residence. I spoke to his wife at length this morning, and she indicated that he, by choice, lives on the street from time to time.
Is there any concern for safety for homeless in the area?
No, I don't believe so. I think this was just an isolated incident between these two individuals, and the identity of Mr. Toro is not in question. It's been clearly established that he is the assailant in the case.
So right now you just need to establish a motive.
Establish a motive and talk to witnesses and may be able to lend some insight as to the verbal altercation that took place just prior to the assault.
Thank you, guys. Would you say and spell your name
yes.
and rank? and
Yes,
everything?
it's David Fugit, Fugitt, and I'm a detective with the Austin Police Homicide Unit. And I wanted to thank each of you too for coming out. I know there's a lot going on in the news right now, but it's really important that we try to reach out and get some of these other witnesses identified. And your work here today certainly helps us do that. So thank you.